What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
We get Nerdy Nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
Watch the episode first. This is full spoilers for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That is right. Welcome back to Spoiler Chats. We haven't done one in a minute.
Oof, yeah. Well, because it's Happy Disney Plus Day, first of all.
Had last week off. WandaVision ended 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we haven't done a spoiler chat.
That's a lie. We did a spoiler chat yesterday for the Snyder Cut.
For the Snyder Cut. Yeah, but honestly, that was kind of more like, oh god. It wasn't really It was
a spoiler chat.
It was a full review. Happy Disney Plus Day. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was an episode of television. This was not a 30-minute thing. This was 42 minutes. Mm-hmm. This felt like a traditional length episode of television, which was very interesting after The Mandalorian and WandaVision being shorter typically. Especially early in their seasons.
To be.
Yeah, this one had more of the like traditional arc and storytelling of a modern TV show, which I found not jarring, but it felt different after. I expected it to be something else.
Yeah, it was weird, just because of what we're used to, not because it was weird. That makes sense.
Yeah. This episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was interesting to me in how not unique it was.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah.
And it was more expensive than any traditional television show has ever been, right? Like the opening sequence where where Falcon is flying against the helicopters and the wingsuit men and the plane, like that sequence was it was a majestic, brilliant, high intensity action sequence that I loved, and this show
movie quality.
They clearly wanted to come out the gates and say the action in the show is going to be a step above what you're expecting, and it absolutely is that. But in like structure, this is a far more traditional episode of television.
For sure. And it felt like it. It was interesting because it didn't excite me in the same way that WandaVision did. WandaVision was very unique. And I loved that, and I really enjoyed what they were trying to do. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It didn't feel like special in that way. But here's the thing: you don't always have to like break the mold. You know, not everything has to be groundbreaking. For what it was, I thought it was great.
Having said that, I will say this: this show. WandaVision works on its own. This show is not good without the MCU. Like this show, for a number of reasons. The first reason being that Steve Rogers' legacy is so over top of this that like you can't get away from it, right?
Yes,
but the other reason is that none of the main characters in this episode of television are together ever. So like. It had a little bit of a similar thing to Snyder Cut, where the characters are kind of all in different places, and there's a little bit of a like too many stories in this episode.
Yeah, like nothing has brought anybody together yet. You have Falcon's story and you have Bucky's story right now,
and then you have like the new army dude story.
Oh yeah,
which
is kind of part of Falcon's story, kind of.
Sort of, but even he's like off on his own, and he Zoom chats with Falcon.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that scene becomes a FaceTime. And what's interesting is that knowing Falcon and knowing Bucky, for the majority of the episode, the story I was most interested in was the other guy, who's I don't even know his name. But he's off chasing the flag smashers, and they are going to be like the main villains of this.
Yes. And
they're really cool. Their masks are cool. The fact that we're introduced to the concept that they are people who think that the world was better during the blip.
Yeah.
And they want to go back to that world is something that I absolutely can see happening in the real world.
Oh,
that
God,
felt real, and that felt very interesting. And so his story ended up being the most interesting to me right up until Bucky's right at the end.
Yeah.
When Bucky's line has that twist. The storyline that felt the weirdest to me was definitely Sam's.
Okay.
I've never thought about it, but it is odd to me that like the Avengers are all essentially broke.
I guess.
Because being an Avenger is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And...
For sure. And
they don't get paid?
Yeah. Like, he says, like, I have government contracts, which is, like, proof of income.
But that's upcoming. That's not... Like, it was weird. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess, like, when Tony was around, Tony just paid for everything. But Tony's gone, and I wasn't in the will. Which is a little bit what it feels like.
Yeah, and I guess, like, you know, I feel like when Tony was, like, writing his will, he didn't think he'd have to, like, take care of all the Avengers.
I don't know.
Like,
it's just
I wouldn't have thought that, but yeah, it's one of those things where, because they're trying to, get a loan from the bank, is it a loan?
They want to consolidate their loans.
Yeah, and it's hard for people who were gone for 5 years in the Blip. They did not exist. They don't have credit. They don't have income for the past 5 years.
But like what this opens up to me is like, what if you disappeared? Like, did someone just move into your house and they own your house now? And it's like,
yeah,
like oh god, the Blip as interesting a storytelling device as it is. It raises so many questions.
Many problems. Yeah, like, could you imagine you come back from the Blip in your home and there's a family living in there, or, like, there's two people, like, doing the nasty, and you're just like, this is my house. Or you blipped out
mid-nasty and you come back fully nude, like, mid-thrust in the middle of a living room.
Oh my god. In front of possible children. Like, you never know what situation you would hop back into.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. And there's so many, like, uncomfortable questions that come along with that plot device.
Mm-hmm. But this
you have your job. You probably don't. It's been 5 years. You've been replaced. You know, people have had to figure out a way. If your company
even exists anymore.
If your company even exists, your loved ones may or may not have moved on. Like, it's scary. It's terrifying.
I just got a little... That storyline made me a little nervous. Because I really like the actress playing Sam's sister.
Yeah.
I like that Sam feels more grounded in that. And, like, learning his backstory that he left home and his family feels a little bit abandoned by him. At the same time, there's a part of me that's like, how much of this season are we going to spend dealing with the Falcon can't get a loan?
Yeah.
And that it just makes me it honestly makes me just like a teensy bit nervous.
Yeah.
As far as like, what is the show going to be about? Because on the one hand, it's like, all right, well, we have to stop this international terrorist organization.
Yeah.
But then like Sam is going to be like, all right, well, the terrorists are going to have to wait because I have to go deal with a small town bank loan situation. And it just, like, the scale of the issues that the characters are dealing with are so...
It's tough.
Far apart from one another that I'm kind of like, okay, we have the Winter Soldier story, we have the international terrorist story, and then we have the boat and the loan, and I'm like... Because at the end of the episode, the very end of the episode, they introduced the new Captain America, who I thought for sure was going to be named U.S. Agent, but they're legitimately calling him Captain America, which is wild.
Yeah.
They introduce him, and I'm like, Falcon immediately just has bigger problems.
Yeah.
Like, just immediately has bigger problems. And if I was his sister, I would also kind of be like, stay out of this. You're going to end up having bigger problems. And I'm surprised she didn't say that. I'm surprised she never is like, hey, Sam... you're gonna leave. Like, I have to... You can't keep telling me that you're gonna help me do this, because at some point you're gonna leave. And so it just becomes... For me, moving forward, that's the story that I'm like... They either have to resolve that within the first few episodes so that the rest of the story can happen, or it's gonna be, like, in the back of all of this show.
Yeah. And
I don't know, like... I don't know how you keep the stakes of that story interesting when Flag Smasher has super terrorists. And I'm not, they know better than I do. 100%. They know better than I do.
But it is one of those things where I understand you need a storyline to humanize Falcon so you can relate to him, give him like real people problems. But you you do have a balancing act on your hands because in certain situations those people problems are going to feel so out of place and insignificant in the wake of like mass terrorism. Well,
but it's also that they're so far away. Like, it's not even like they're in DC, right? I think they said they're in Tennessee, right? And so you create this like thing where Falcon has to literally leave the location where everything else is centered, because Winter Soldier's in DC, the government contracts that he's working for are in DC. Captain America is being run out of DC. And so you have like your entire storyline taking place in DC, and then your main character, the star of your show, is going to have to like literally leave the area of the main story to go handle his business on this like, and the unfortunate thing for me is that I feel like we're not going to get the story of Falcon helping other vets deal with their emotional trauma, which is how we were introduced to Sam, and is such a huge part of his character, mostly modernly in the comics. Obviously, early Sam was a very different character, and he's had some retcons in the comics, but you're also kind of taking him away from being able to be a part of those kind of parts of his life that we originally met him doing. And I really thought that, like, I thought a big subplot of this show would be him helping other vets deal with coming back in the same way that he is currently dealing with losing Cap, and it doesn't look like we're going to have room for that kind of a storyline.
That would be probably too much now with all the things that they've introduced, for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. I hope that I end up caring a lot about that boat, but right now I just kind of felt like, why are we on this boat? Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for next week to see it, but I was not like blown away by the first episode. I was blown away by the action. The action's unbelievable. Yeah, it was very well done. But honestly, after WandaVision, I was kind of expecting that from the trailers. Yeah, that's true. Like, I was like, oh yeah, this is the quality that we're at now. Okay, cool. It was also interesting that we didn't see any character except Rhodey. Rhodey's in this episode, which was really cool. I knew he had a cameo. I did not expect it to be this early. I thought they would save. He's literally in the second scene of the freaking episode, like, right there. Also interesting that no one else shows up for Captain America's shield going in the Smithsonian. There's like so many people that you would expect to be there, and it's just Rhodey and Falcon.
Yeah,
you think Bucky would be like? I wish they'd like shown him in the background, like lurking or something. But, but Rhodey and Sam have a scene together, and that's the only time two people we already knew talked to each other in this episode.
Yep. Yeah, that's true.
So I think this show is really sold on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm excited to see them together.
Yeah. That's the part that I'm most excited for, especially based off of the trailers. Yeah. So hopefully we get into that next episode. Because if they wait too long, I'm going to be kind of like,
Yeah, it's just insane.
Hopefully next week.
Yeah. Interesting that none of the trailers showed his sister, too.
True. Yeah, it was all action and the two of them together.
The one last question I have is how is Falcon in good graces with the army? Because the last time because he was on Captain America's fugitive team, right?
What do you mean?
So like after Civil War, he was a fugitive, right? So at what point did he get welcomed back into the military? Did they just like give them pardons and then also re-recruit them even though they were considered fugitives from the law for like years? Falcon was literally considered a fugitive for like the last 6 or 7 years, right? So at what point did the American military be like, we know that you betrayed us and that you were a fugitive and that you violated the Sokovia Accords, but like now we're good?
I don't know. We'll have to look at that.
Unless no, because like in Infinity War, Falcon ghosts, right? He dusted, right? So then, at no point up until this show have we seen him square off like the whole fugitive thing.
I don't think so.
So I guess they're just kind of skipping it. They're like, Endgame happened. He saved the universe. That's good enough for the U.S. government.
I guess.
I don't know. I'm hoping they touch on that. I'm hoping they touch on why.
Yeah, we'll see if they ignore it or if they try to explain it.
Because last time we saw Captain America, he was also a fugitive from the American government. So It's like, put him in the Smithsonian. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. That covers it.
Yeah, it was an interesting introduction to a show that I liked so far.
Yeah.
I'm not as like as I was for WandaVision.
Yeah, me neither. But
bracing myself for the new episode each week, but it was really good, and it looks incredible. It looks so expensive.
Yes, it does. We'll be back next week with another spoiler chat for episode 2.
Absolutely. We have some other videos on the channel that you can absolutely go check out because it's YouTube. Like, hang out.
Yep.
Like, subscribe, do all those things. Hit the notification bell if you want to never miss a video ever again in your life. And you can also watch us over on Twitch. I stream over at twitch.tv/nerdynightly.
Yep, I'm over at twitch.tv/ClarkStakaris.
And as always, my name's Nerdy.
And I'm Claru.
Do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.
Bye.